Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. When the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 9th. It's 9th. You know what? I'm feeling off today. I just tell you right away. I felt so tired when I woke up. I did not want to get out of bed. It's happening to me more and more, but I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's just because I'm working out hard. I don't know. Or maybe I've just been in this house for too long. I don't think I've stepped outside for a week now. Probably should go to the store. Anyways, and also, yes, I know I have a huge set on my head. Actually, you know what? It doesn't look that bad. Doesn't look that bad. We're cool. Okay, so anyways, go to the charts. How are you guys this morning? Well, yesterday we had a pretty good up day. They started out when I was trading, it was kind of like here. But oh no, wait, that's not right. Yes, yesterday we were kind of like around here when we left. That we caught a little bit of this area, and then they really extended throughout the day. Now today, we're moving a little bit lower, and I just want to point out where we're at here again. This fall around here was about the time that they started talking about stimulus. So it's where we're at is not really all that significant. A lot of people keep going like, oh, it's so far up, and this whole rally makes no sense, and yeah. What you got to realize is that these down moves were so extreme. They were so extreme that all of this movement could just be technicals for all we know. Could just be people taking profits from their shorts and stuff. Even though the economic situation does look a little bit better. We'll acknowledge that, right? Oh, you know what? Treasuries still in the range here. There's a little bit more liquidity out there, so that's good. I don't know if the volume in the treasuries is really enough to see a lot of opportunity there again yet. Anyways, today we have important numbers, right? Because we got CPI or PPI, Producer Price Index. So we get to see if the supply disruptions have affected their prices at all. We are expecting a deflation, though. The core PPI month over month is expected to be 0, with a previous reading of -0.3. If that number is negative, I would interpret it overall as good, because it means that the Federal Reserve can continue to pump money out without consequences, because means that the money supply is positive. I didn't say that correctly. It means that we're still fighting deflation, and so they have plenty of room to ease if they need to, or frankly, maybe they'll be forced to ease. Anyways. So, I don't know what it's actually going to come out to be honest. So, we get the continuing jobless claims, and this time we're looking for 8,000. The previous reading of 3,000. I mean, this number is going to be insane. So, yeah. Anyways, I didn't, whenever I'm feeling awful, that usually means that I don't finish my breakfast before starting the stream, so I have a little bit of food to eat here that we'll take care of. I'll start the text-to-speech robot. Yeah. It's kind of Yemeni's kind of in an interesting location. Gonna have to. These charts down here, I like what it's given me, but it's not. It's never like maxing out. It's never very far, and it seems like it changes a lot. Maybe I need to zoom the chart in more. Maybe maybe I need to change some settings there, but we can worry about that after the move. All right, so let me eat a little bit.
Daniel Ksей Sanyang Хасея. Daniel Ksей's Accentes.
Yeah, you still have a Russian accent. I think he wants a Korean accent, huh? No, we changed it to info. Do info.
Daniel Ksей's Info.
How do I not have the Korean ones in there? Oh my gosh. Unacceptable.
Daniel K says, set accent UKM.
Guess I'll fix that on another screen while the news comes in here.
Andy Pavlatos says hello. What indicators are you using?
All the indicators. At this point, I feel like all the indicators. You know what? A lot of the stuff that you're gonna see on my screen is stuff that I've made myself. So, yeah, maybe at some point we'll make them available, but a lot of it is just things that you can find in any platform, and I've just kind of adjusted them to peculiarities about
Daniel
the way
K
that I
says
want to
lol.
see it. So, right, the main thing that I use is the DOM. I really pay attention to the action that I see here in the DOM. I'm looking here, especially right now in the ES. That's the thing that I'm focusing on a little bit to see, whether they add or subtract from the bid when they're moving around. So right now you see they pulled, they're only got like fives put up there because we got news coming in 10 seconds. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Wow, quite a little bit of back and forth there. Quite a bit of fighting. Ziggy ziggy. Treasury. Ugh. Okay, Treasury was sticking up a strong bid there, and they got cut down. The number is spot two core PPI, month over month for March, spot two versus an expected
Winston's mom says, may I add, my
0.
good morning and how are you today, speculator Seth?
Good morning.
Good
Also,
morning, gentlemen of day trading.
continuing jobless claims for 7,455 versus an expected 5,000. So actually wasn't as bad as expected for once. That's really interesting, actually. Oh, initial jobless claims 6,606K versus an estimated 5,250. So that's generally positive. They are moving up a little bit. Looks like they're going to move up here. You can see here, so just you can kind of see it on my meter over here, right? They're buying. There's definitely the pressure is buying right now. Sellers getting out of the way, all the way back up there to new highs. Whee! Probably could have put in a sim trade there for long, but I'm feeling so icky. I don't know if I really want to take many trades today. Uh-oh. I'm getting called. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. Okie dokie. Yep, bye. My wife reminding me that it's trash day and that we didn't do anything. So, man, well, that's just gonna run. And by the way, when I didn't say bye, good morning. K-O-K-R. Oh. I'll pick one here.
클라우드 기계 학습을
Definitely A. I always like the more feminine sounding voice.
클라우드 기계 학습을 사용하면 앱에서 이미지, 텍스트 등을 해석할 수 있습니다.
I don't know.
클라우드 기계 학습을 사용하면 앱에서 이미지, 텍스트 등을 해석할 수 있습니다.
Winston's mom says you mentioned feeling icky today. Are you not feeling well? And do you know how David Ick is? He thinks this virus is caused by 5G or something along those lines. And he believes in lizard people.
Oh man, I've been having people on my Facebook talking about the 5G thing, and I can't stand it. I always have to come in and comment. I just can't look at it and not say something. Listen, guys, that 5G is not ionizing radiation. It can't even penetrate your skin, and the idea that it would be affecting people's health is ridiculous. Conspiracy theory being pushed by Russians, probably. Oh man, but I think that that's just maybe I didn't get enough sleep and little things like that. I've been getting to bed at more like 11 instead of 10, and it seems like that 1 hour can make a big difference for me. And I haven't been taking fish oil, so a little bit more inflammation in my body. I've been working out hard. I've been doing a lot of volume. Like I did sets of 10s and squats yesterday, which is like, a lot. It's going to be a hard few weeks because I'm on support now, which means when bad things happen at work, I have to acknowledge them and get them pushed out to the correct team. So it gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough.
Winston's mom says, do you still have your sense of taste and smell? I also read that diarrhea is a precursor.
Precursor of what? Of 5G sickness? No. Save.
Daniel K says Tesuteu.
Oh wow, it totally reads it out. That's so cool, dude. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just gonna shut the whole thing down and restart it. So hold on a second. Okay. Unhandled rejection error. So there is still a spot that I'm not catching something. Okay. What is it? There we go.
스페큘라톨세스 세이즈 테스트.
Ah, there you go. Now you can use it.
Jokel says think market is going to tank again soon?
다니엘 크 세이즈.
Daniel K says hi hello Woldeu.
Winston's mom says there are some insurance companies looking to suspend auto insurance payments because people are not driving back and forth to work. You guys might check that out with your insurance company.
Oh, now that's interesting. That people aren't driving, and so it's affecting auto insurance companies. That's an effect that I didn't anticipate at all. On the market tanking, I think it's going to be really hard for them to tank hard, given that jobs report and PPI that we just got. It was pretty positive, and they seem to really like it. I don't know if they can just like continue up all day. And of course, sometimes that sort of a thing can cause like an exhaustion move, but for the moment, that was positive. It really was. So they made it up, pumped up there back to 2740, and now they're kind of retracing it a little bit. It actually wasn't a huge move. Treasuries certainly came down off of that though, which is not, well, I guess it is. I guess it's good because it means that after all of those changes that the Federal Reserve made, inflation is still close to their target. Yeah. Daniel, you didn't you tried you need to do set accent Korean F, right?
Jokel says have you heard of George Gammon? He's got a great channel on finance and macroecon.
I'll definitely have to add that to my list.
다니엘 크 세이즈 세텍센트 코리안프.
Winston's mom says Daniel K. accent Korean F hangag eahaseyo nanun hangagi SEO1 young on sal as subnita. Osan ab.
Oh, now that'll be an interesting thought. Is if you put in the, what do we call this? The Englishization of the Korean, does it still read it out the same? Because I've everything that I've been reading is that using those hurts your learning of it. It's kind of interesting. But the way that their characters are set up is kind of weird too. Like, so here's a problem I've been having, and I was kind of getting into yesterday, but maybe I can show you. I'll show you.
다니엘 크 세이즈 안녕하시오.
That sounds okay. So maybe it does work okay. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. And turn the volume up really loud. So here you see my phone. It's showing me a Korean character. I don't think you can see it very well. But, and then it asks me, what sound does this make? And it gives me PPWI, PPO, and PPWAE.
Adeptic says, what a beautiful phone.
Well, it's a Samsung phone. I've always used Samsung phones. I like.
Winston's mom says in Young Hayes IO.
So is this what? Let's listen to what it says. So is that
Adeptic says
or
it should have little trouble with Korean then.
I think that one's Pue. Yeah. Okay, this one's good. So there's YU and there's YEO. And which one is which? And sometimes they sound the same to me. Wait, I got to get to the one where it actually I can click the different ones. Here we go. So which of these is the Jiao? Okay, so there's one of these two, right? They sound the same. You hear that? They're the same sound. And to me, they're the same sound. I'm sure that to a Korean, they're different. And Duolingo makes absolutely no effort to explain to you the difference. You're just supposed to figure it out. Which I'm sure works for most languages, but when you're learning like an Asian language, I don't think it works. You know what I mean? I bet if their Chinese course would be really bad too. So that's the issue that I've been having.
다니엘 크 세이즈 하하 yes romanization of Korean is weak. But actually there are letters that sound the same. 100% the same sound. You just have to memorize those.
Oh, okay. Could you guys understand the accent? That's funny. The way she reads it. I think it's because it tries to play out the romanizations of those. The Asian accents on Google WaveNet sound
Daniel
really
says,
bad.
how can I disable accent?
Yeah, you just do set accent default.
Winston's mom says, Speculator Seth, what happens when you type in pho? Pho is a Vietnamese soup consisting of broth, rice noodles, herbs, and meat, sometimes chicken.
There you go.
Daniel K says, set accent default.
All right. There you go. I love how it reads it out when it does the set accent. Probably it shouldn't ignore them anytime that there's an exclamation part in front of it, but whatever. So I think what I need to do, because my understanding is there's not that many letters. There's like 24 or something like that. Like there's not many more letters than American, but they don't explain that you like combine
Winston's
them together.
Mom says, oh, that's not as much fun as when they say it on television. There was an entire episode of Modern Family where everyone tries to say pho to teach Lily to eat this soup.
Oh, I can see that. Okay, they're gonna break out again. He's kind of pushing it a little bit. I don't know if they can make it. Okay, now he's pushing it. Maybe. Tough call. It looks like there's pressure being added, but it's not really going. And look, now it just went Sellers hardcore. Yeah, they gave up. Interesting.
Daniel K says A and E are the same sound. Also yay and E. I'll send you some links at the close.
Oh, that is the one that so it literally is the same sound? So it literally is the same sound. They're just you would have to remember which words.
Daniel K says 100% the same.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe that makes me feel a little bit better then. I just need to print myself out a chart that I can memorize, you know? I don't think that the Duolingo approach for learning the alphabets really works for a non-Germanic language, or whatever we call it. For Esperanto, it's okay, but for the other ones.
Daniel K says but G and KK are different. Just very slightly. Those take practice.
Okay. There was definitely some where they sounded similar. Like they're similar, but like very slightly different. Okay, so some support there. You know what's one thing that I don't like about the meter in Jigsaw? I want to talk to Pete. I need Pete to come in here, and I can rant about it. But the stacking and pulling is like an aggregate calculation, and I wish that it was separated. I wish that it would show me how much stacking was there on each side and how much pulling was there on each side, so that I know if this is showing me that overall there's some strong buying, and when I see it like 4-1, that's when it starts to make me go, oh, okay. All right. Is that because they're stacking or is it because they're pulling? Can't tell. Okay. So there they went for it. That was interesting. So there was a little bit of a stop run, but it wasn't like wild. The buyer's probably a little disappointed. I think maybe one of the things that I should do is this thing right here. Auction Vista depth / imbalance. Maybe it should just be depth. Oh, why is it? Oh, because that's the wrong one. Should be this one right here. Okay. Auction Vista depth and balance, show and balance, uncheck. Okay, so now I can see the cumulative depth on there. And I can see, for instance, that bids added down there. So that's good. Okay, so now, oh, there's a big offer showing up. Yep, big old offer at $27.50. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at that, crazy. That was a 5-point stop run after they went through that huge order. That was something else. They just burned that guy, man. I would assume that's somebody taking profits, but holy crap. $27.50. That may end up being significant. I'm just gonna make a note. So it's the same thing on the stacking and pulling. So I wonder if it would be useful to switch it the other way. Oh, you don't.
Adeptic says I guess $2.3 trillion of direct cash still has weight.
Right. Well, I still say I wouldn't bet against the plunge protection team long term. Maybe in the short run you might get something out of it, But over the course of a month, nah, you're gonna lose.
Kevin Wimmer says I don't get it, why do they always start to buy with the bad numbers lol? I mean they could have bought before, but it always keeps falling until the horrible news.
No, those numbers were good. Those numbers were good, dude. I thought that those numbers were really, really good. So let's just look back at it again. They were expecting 8,000 continuing jobless claims, and they got 7,455. So less continuing jobless claims than expected. Initial jobless claims was higher than expected, 6,606 versus 5,250. Okay, so that number was bad, but it's like within the range. Like we know that number is going to be high, and if it's 1,000 more than it's supposed to be, like, is it really a big deal? And then PPI was spot 2, which means that all of the monetary easing that we've done has inflation within its target, because you want it to be 0.2 the spot 0.4. 0.4 is slightly on the higher end, 0.2 is slightly on the lower end, which means that the Federal Reserve is doing perfectly okay, and probably even has room to ease more if they want to. So I would say that the numbers overall were good. I mean, we're not to the high of the overnight session or anything either. So, but the tape certainly looks positive. They are getting close to the overnight.
Kevin Wimmer says, well, I got them from Twitter Squawk and they were worse than the expectation. U.S. initial jobless claims April 4th, 6606K EXP 5500K.
Yeah.
Previous R6867K.
Yeah, that one was worse than expected.
Winston's mom says current moon is in Scorpio and the waxing crescent moon is waning gibbous. The moon in Scorpio creates the need to delve into your feelings as deep as possible. Organs affected include genitals, rectum and anus.
Okay. But no, back to the initial jobless claims, it's right, but just looking at the last 3 weeks of this,
Winston's mom says, aren't you glad you asked?
Just looking back at the last 3 weeks of this, there's so many jobless claims. They're thousands off, haven't they? And we've seen some things where it was 1,000 off and then they ended up buying afterwards, But so I kind of look at the initial jobless claims number right now as a number that's like, you want to pay attention to it for sure and see the trajectory of it. But what it is, the specifics of it, and what it is in relation to the estimate probably doesn't matter. You almost have to assume that the estimate is going to be wrong, wildly wrong by large percentage point. So, but to see that the continuing jobless claims is not as high is good. There have been some big bubbles up here. I am seeing some profit taking just ahead of the high. So I don't know if they're going to go for it again or not.
Adeptic says, I'm guessing this is a pump and dump operation in progress.
Well, it could be. Maybe I should go back and do this again, because I know that most people miss it, but you can rewind the video too, but I'm just going to show you again. If we come back and we look at the volume profile in the ES, look at where we're at. Look at where we've been forming profile the past 3 days now, is right where we were just before March 11th, okay? Now, what happened on March 11th? March 11th was the point at which the administration started talking about stimulus, okay? So this is, it's really bad. They really need to pass a stimulus. Oh my gosh, the Democrats aren't going to do the stimulus. Oh wait, it's okay. They're just playing around. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. And now we're fine. And now we're back to where we were, right? So the degree of the moves. Sorry, I'm like talking really loud. The degree of the moves are deceptive to us. They are
Winston's
distorting.
mom says 26 watching now. Will everyone please take a quick second to hit like whether you like March 11th or not? Thank you for the stimulus.
There you go. Click like to give me some stimulus. Now, where the moves are deceptive to us. We see this move up and we say, well, the market is going crazy and things aren't that great, and we could continue lower, and the market's buying up, and we say, because it's such a huge move up, that this tells us something about the economy and that I don't believe, and so it must be a pump and dump or something like that. Well, when you put it in context, okay, hey, it could just be short covering. It could just be technicals. It's just like, how different are things now from when they started to decide that we needed to pass stimulus and when they actually did? To me, in my mind, it's not all that different. To me, it's not all that different. It's like, well, we have the stimulus now and we know exactly what it is, and you can factor in that in, and that's good. So we got the stimulus that we wanted. The location that we're at right now makes complete sense. Heck, it could even be up to, let's say, 3,000, and I could still make that argument, So be careful about the idea that, like, it's a pump and that it's going to really turn down, because that's what's going to make you want to do is short it, right? I mean, obviously, you're probably saying that because you want to short it, but that might not necessarily make sense right now. I think that for us to turn back down, there's going to have to be some sort of a catalyst for it. There's going to have to be some knockoff effect that's really devastating to the economy that that's not factored in, like companies start going bankrupt or something like that, So that's kind of my thought on it. Just kind of following the tape. And I mean, look at the treasury today. Look at the treasury today. Just taking like a total dive from the high there. We're probably going to test the lower end of that range, and then if it falls out from there, we could come back to where we were March 11th, I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to get higher than this 140 again. It would be nice. It would be nice, but I don't know if that one's going to happen. Especially not with the PPI being spot 2. Probably we need to wait until the CPI tomorrow to be making that conclusion, though.
Adeptic says they got some ultra cheap SP points just now. They moved the S some 60 points with just 100k S contracts. I am guessing they will dump it into the open volume surge with an AVG. 45 PT profit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think we got some bag holders here, because it looks to me like around 2760 that some people rotated out. They rotated out. There was a little bit, and then they kept moving. So, I don't know. And when you look at it, can you see here? No, you can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the pop. Maybe this microphone was a mistake. Maybe the pops bother me when I hear them. Okay, here's this. Do you see here? There was some big offers, and they just plummeted. They just banged right through.
Adeptic says need a screen for the mic.
Yeah, maybe.
Adeptic says yes, I see them.
Well, part of the reason why I bought this mic is because it has a built-in windscreen, but I guess you don't, to really make it pop. You really got to hit it hard, and maybe I'm too close. Maybe it should be more like here. Oh yeah, I need to go and do the
Adeptic says your wind is too powerful.
I'm gonna go do the trash, okay? I'll be right back.
Adeptic says do that trash? Is that a new dance?
Is that a new dance? No, we never put the trash out to the curb so they can pick it up. Okay, so it gave me a short. It didn't really stay offered below it. I think you ignore that one because the trend is obviously up at the moment. But we are seeing slightly different behavior now. So I would stay on your toes.
Sebastian Marquez says good morning SR. Speculator.
Okay, so I'm seeing a headline here that we maybe need to dive into a little. Russia wants all producers to cut from a quarter one average, not an April baseline, which for Saudi Arabia was 12 million barrels per day. Is that more favorable to Russia? Would Saudi Arabia not go for that? Help me out here, oil guys. Maybe we'll just post that in the oil room if they haven't already. Saudi Arabia is ready to cut up to 4 million barrels per day of its production, but only from the record output levels of 12.3 barrels per day achieved in April. The source briefed on the kingdom's oil policy said on Thursday, I consider this bad news. Meeting will start in 90 minutes. Possible long trial before the meeting could guarantee a nice outcome since oil will strongly move either up or down. Assuming the price is right. But you always got to calculate that one. Those straddles, man. Okay. 2776. Still going. So I was right about ignoring that short signal. Didn't even get a convergence at all. 58. Man, I suppose I could have bought through all this. Nah, I still had food, and I don't think I'm completely myself yet. I think now I'm feeling a little bit more up. Oh, cool. Some people retweeted my tweet. Anyways, can kind of start to get into the groove a little bit. Look at that. It's all buy. That seems a little excessive. So I'm going to want to watch this. So there's some big orders at 80. See.
That guy says, and oh boy, is the dollar taking a beating.
Yeah. Well, I can see the 6E is definitely going up. The 6J not so much. Gold is going up. So they must be reading this as that they are well, I don't know. I don't know why they're doing that. I tell you, one thing I've learned though is that when the stock market is moving up on a weak dollar, that is you got to be careful about that one, right? Because not only does that mean that it's not maybe necessarily fundamentals driving the economy up and not the reason that you want to buy that people normally think of, but also it also means that you can get order flow that doesn't make sense or is deceptive. I have this sticker on my water bottle. I was like, all these little distractions, I gotta get them out of the way so I don't focus. This one is just gonna drive me crazy. Sticky little sticker on the side here. It's not coming off very easily. Okay. So they still didn't go into the 80. Didn't go use that goopy gun stuff. I'll be right back.
Winston's mom says just a note to anyone just tuning, speculator Seth has stepped away from the camera for a moment. We are still here, so good morning.
Okay, so I was just thinking as I was doing all that. We're still here. We should come over here and check some other currencies. How about like the Swiss? $6S? $6S is going up too. But not $6J. Okay. Oh, I see that they decided to go through 80. How high can this go? Think I should buy it? What do you think? Nah, I think that I think their momentum might be dying out here, to be honest. Doesn't mean that there's not another leg up, but they're going to come back a little bit. Maybe they'll turn a real short this time. Try it right there. So there's definitely some defense there. USD JPY still awaits a shove, says Forex Live. Tonight's Eurogroup risks being a total car crash from the red lines evolving north and south could not be further apart. All four parts of the package are a risk. People should not be under any illusions about how broken the politics are short-lived based on chats. Okay. I think that was a short signal there.
Winston's mom says breaking news over on MSNBC, the Fed is going to provide another $2 trillion in stimulus.
It's got to be a little bit more. It's going to be more like, how do we say it? You know, if they're providing overnight loans versus quantitative easing, it's what they're actually buying and what they're providing it for matters a lot. I think that I've gotten into this thing where we see Fed and a number, and we automatically assume that they're putting that all into the stock market, and it's not necessarily the case.
Adeptic says small business and direct buying of state bonds.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well. So 72 would be great. Looks like they're going to find me a little bit.
Winston's mom says from the Fed News, this funding will assist households and employers of all sizes and bolster the ability of state and local governments to deliver critical services during the coronavirus pandemic.
Okay. Well, treasuries are retracing a bit here. A bit, actually, a lot. Can see a little bit of offer pressure in the E-mini.
Winston's mom says, speculator Seth, don't you have a small business and could you use an interest-free loan that may be turned into a grant?
So I actually have looked into that sort of a thing, but I wouldn't qualify. So I don't think I really need it anyways. It would be nice to like hire somebody, but man, time's not
Ace
right.
Trades says, morning folks.
Good morning, Ace. Do you catch any of that long? Kind of regret not taking it.
Ryan says I need money.
There you go. Well, the government's giving everybody a check, right?
Ace Trades says at Winston's mom morning.
Everybody that submitted for taxes. So buyers are trying really hard to hold this
Ace
area,
Trades says
but
I did a little bit.
It's not working for them right now. They may come up and just plow it though.
Winston's mom says, good morning, Ace Trades, and how goes your world where no one ever leaves?
It's gonna stop out for sure. Yeah. They are starting to
Adeptic
look
says we're
really
all going to need it
extended.
soon. I think after all the Fed aid packages, the federal aid and the loans, a loaf of bread will cost $1,000 in June. Slightly smiling face.
Ryan says didn't we say up today?
Yeah,
Ace
I was
Trades
just
says at
taking that
Winston's
one.
mom, oh, it's great. You? Adeptic says, however,
This is
cheap
like
money will quickly ease the toilet paper shortage.
the toilet paper shortage. Oh, okay. I'm still kind of getting the hang of this. So I don't think that one was good.
Ryan says weak dollar jod 5 points today.
That guy says stimulus only adds to the debt, not good. Worse yet, it giving stimulus to companies that have already been given trillions in handouts, all of which has gone into stock buybacks.
I wouldn't concern myself too much with it, to be honest, bud.
Winston's mom says my world is fine. My husband returns from his walkabout and this has me a bit concerned. I guess the outside world had to enter again at some point. I leave the mail on a chair, can't leave him there.
So like on the whole thing that they used a lot of earnings and they gave it back to shareholders. Okay, so shareholders have it now. What do you do? Like it's money in the economy somewhere. Hopefully they took it and they reinvested it in better companies. Or maybe they just lost it all on the downturn. I don't know. But oh man, see. As soon as I try and take a continuation the other way, now it's telling me again. Short. Or at least it's close to a short, but I don't know if it's going to turn. See, tactically, none of these are
Adeptic
working,
says
right?
thing. Adeptic says good think Bernie dropped out of the race. It would be scary to have socialism in the USA. As the Fed and the Fed Government shovels piles of cash to corporations.
We should talk about Bernie in a second. No, listen, there are companies out there that are having financial trouble because they're basically not running in business. And you know what? Uh, what I understand the whole thing about maybe they're irresponsible. You know what? I think Democrats are way too
That
focused
guy
on the
says that
buyback
money
thing.
stays in their bank accounts. This redistribution of wealth into the hands of the 1% is a trend that's been happening over the past 30 years.
Yeah, no, it's a trend that's been
Winston's mom
happening.
says if
Hold on.
2008 is any indication, they will arguably stash the money so their numbers look good and the Chiefs get their bonus. I hope not this time.
It's a redistribution of wealth that's been happening since the beginning of economies, guys. That's always the way that it works, okay? Capital flows from the uninformed to the informed. The market determines where capital is allocated. It is pointless. It is a useless venture to come in and say, I don't like the way that capital was allocated and we should allocate it differently. If that's what you want to do, then put your money in companies that don't do that, okay? Like if you don't like companies that do share buybacks, don't invest in companies that do that. You're not going to make as much money. You're just not. You're just not. Like if a company made a profit and they don't see places where they can effectively invest it and they choose to give it back to their shareholders because that's the thing that helps the company the most, then they can do that. I don't think that companies should have to hold enough capital to keep themselves afloat for half a year. Because some of these people are saying that we're going to have to keep things shut down. Like, no. Like, you stop the hospital shortage thing, and then after that, you let it go. And yeah, a lot of people are going to die, but you cannot avoid that. And all you're going to do is draw it out. So they're going to have to let people get back to work at some point. But you can't keep them closed for months and months and months. Like 2 months, 2 months of cash, total cash on hand for a company is a lot of cash, and that's probably more than they should really be expected to hold. Because, like, honestly, what kind of a situation puts you out of business for a whole freaking month? Like, that is not something that any company would ever imaginably have to plan for. So, is it smart at that point to come in and say, well, these are still good companies that work, make money, and we still want to have around, so we should give them money to bridge the gap short term? Yes, it completely makes sense. It completely makes sense. And yeah, it is debt, but what else are you going to do? You just, do you want them to all go out of business? Do you not want to have anywhere to work when this is all over? Like, honestly. What do you expect them to do? I'm not an investor. I never owned a stock in my life. Well, you, sir, should change that. Straight up. Because it's funny because I can just kind of smell it. It's like with the way that you talk about something, there's always this key thing that people don't understand. The key question is always, how do you allocate capital? Okay? We're going to get a stimulus check here. What do you do with that stimulus check? Do you go and buy a ton of toilet paper with it? $2,000 of toilet paper? $1,400 of toilet paper, depending on if you're a couple or not. No. No, that would be dumb. Because you know what happens is you're going to use all that toilet paper to wipe your ass, and then you're going to flush it down the drain, and then that money is gone forever. Nobody can take anything from it. Nobody can make any more money from that money because it is in the sewer. You invest it. You invest it because then we use that money to make more money. We use that money to create improvements, to hire people, to do things that expand the economy and improve our ability to do things. Okay? How do you decide to allocate that? And that is to the individual person. Because if you come in and you say, let's let this expert allocate all of the capital, it never works because, first of all, that's way too much power for one person. But second of all, people have conflicting motivations. Okay? So it's only through the aggregate of all individuals pursuing their own best interests that we can determine that. Right?
That guy says, do you all want to go out of business as non-argument? When a company goes out of business, new management takes over. This is what happens in the real world. You should join us sometime.
Sorry, that guy, but you're the one that I don't think that you understand. This whole thing, okay, you have a bankruptcy, you file for bankruptcy, and then you take all of the debts, you repackage them, you remake the company, and then ever after that, the company is fine and it passes on and it's good and everything. You know what we call that in the business world? A fairy tale. It never happens. Maybe it might happen in this situation because there's going to be a lot of companies that maybe potentially go out of into bankruptcy that shouldn't need to. But generally speaking, that sort of situation doesn't work out well. That's just like kicking against the pricks and delaying the inevitable. Right? The market is not allocating government capital now. The U.S. government is directing capital and rewarding poorly managed companies. Wrong. Hold on. The Federal Reserve, as far as I understand, isn't going out there and saying, okay, we'll give $1 million to Apple and we'll give $1 million to this company and we'll give $1 million to this company. It doesn't work that way. What they do is they give money to banks, and then banks go out there and they say, who are some people that would like to start businesses or to invest in stuff and can do stuff with that money? And then the banks allocate it. So the Federal Reserve gives it to the market, and then the market allocates it. Yeah.
That guy says, so you are making a great case of socialism here. Pretty soon, this will lead to uninhibited hyperinflation, and the US dollar will be worth nothing.
Wrong. Again. I'm sorry, I just love this because these are like my favorite arguments, and you couldn't be more clueless, to be honest. I'm talking way stronger than I normally would be, but I'm kind of on one today, I guess. You couldn't be more clueless. How are you going to get hyperinflation when people can't buy stuff? When people don't have jobs? Guys, deflation is like your biggest enemy. Like, honestly, think about this. Think about this number that we got today with the producer price index. Okay, the Federal Reserve has injected trillions of dollars per day. Like they have these funding operations where they're like funding out trillions of dollars, and then it gets paid back the next day, and then they put it out again. Trillions of dollars, guys. And we're still underrunning our 2% target on inflation. Like, that is insane. And you're worried about hyperinflation? No, it's never going to happen. The thing that happens, understand, when you have high levels of debt, it affects your GDP growth in the long run. We have lower growth now than we did before because we have more debt, and you're going to continue to see that. It's going to be a long road out. No question about it. But it's a much better road than if we were to have a depression. So there you go. Apple is a terrible example. They have a stash cash that would make God blush. Yeah. Anyways, the free market allocates capital better. That's the long and short of it. Man, they go and get me. Okay, fine. Fine. So I'm taking all of these in the experimental because I know that I'm going to be off. I don't seem to be finding any kind of safe places to get in. It should still be up in here.
That guy says if you think we have anything that resembles the free market, you are absolutely clueless.
Well, we have a regulated market. No, I'm not a libertarian. I'll admit that. I'm not a libertarian.
Winston's mom says Redding that one good example of a company using good capital allocation is Constellation Software, Canadian-based company, and various vertically managed software companies.
I mean, just because the government is a participant and participates with the market doesn't mean that the market's not a free market. You're still allowing people to pursue their individual interests. Okay, that one worked the way that I wanted it to. See if it follows through. Man, they're fighting it quite a bit, I'd say. This market is pretty turbulent. I guess this has been the open, right? Let me take it a step further. I rejected the notion that in order to have a free market, we
That
have to
guy
let
says
everybody
that's
fail.
nonsense. This regulated market is exactly why we have a debt-based house of cards. This is what you call free market. You really need to brush up on basic econ.
Like, listen, you've already made several critical fallacies that demonstrate that you don't really
Winston's
understand
mom says Moi
economics.
Global says another good example is Texas Instruments. I think everyone should look through its IR materials, particularly those dedicated to capital allocation.
Like anybody that tells you that hyperinflation is a concern right now doesn't know what they're talking about. Where is it? You look at any of this index, do you see inflation? It's not happening. It never happens during an economic downturn. Right? What has happened here is you've argued with a conservative in the past, and they say, oh, you can't have basic universal income because that would create inflation. True. Okay. But the thing is, you put the money in when the markets are down, and then when the markets are up, you take it out so that you don't get inflation. This is the whole idea behind the Federal Reserve. Like, this is it was created for this reason. It was created for this reason, right? Now, if we were we were having a great economy, like if this was 3 months ago, and then we were saying, well, we need to have a basic universal income and we need to give everybody a $2,000 stimulus check at the height of the economic growth, then that would cause inflation, right? Excess of money when it's not needed. So to say that hyperinflation is a concern right now is just absolutely ridiculous. You say, oh, well, not right now. Not ever. Not ever, unless the Federal Reserve makes some crazy policy mistake. Like, the United States isn't even the most debt-burdened country out there, right? Printing money, there are downsides to it, but it doesn't necessarily lead to inflation. It's only to the point when the amount of money that you're spending servicing the debt is more than what you can actually produce, then you're going to have to change things. But even then, you can restructure it, and there's things that you can do about that. So hyperinflation is not even on the radar, guys. Not even on the radar. Like, to say that, I mean, unless you want deflation, right? Like, if we do what you're asking, we would be in a depression right now. Straight up. You want us to do what they did in the Depression. You want us to just say, okay, well, I understand that the market can't handle all of these companies being out of business for 2 months, but we're not going to do anything. We're going to let them all go out of business. And we're not going to print any money because that would, increase our debt. You'll have a depression. You'll completely destroy the economy. Because that's what happened in the Depression, was that the Federal Reserve had control of interest rates and they chose not to print. That's why it became a depression. You couldn't be any more brainwashed? Listen, buddy, here's a question. Old sport. That's what I should know. I keep calling people buddy. I don't think that's good branding. Old sport. Listen, old sport. How do you know if I'm the one that's brainwashed or if you are? How would you know? Question for you. How can you tell?
Kevin Wimmer says my biggest issue right now is the following. Why does Fed stand for Federal Reserve System? The right abbreviation should be FRS or just FR for Federal Reserve. First world problems.
And not FED. Hey, man, it's a good point. We call it the Fed. What if we just minus a zero for every dollar alive, but a dollar is still $1? No, we're borrowing against future growth. No question about it. But if we're making more money in the future than we are now, then it tends not to be a big deal. There is a certain point at which it does become a big deal, but we're not there yet. Even after, that's the thing that's so crazy, is even after all of this, we're not there yet. And even if we were close, it would still make sense to print the money there, because if you don't print the money, then you'll get deflation and you can never pull yourself out of it. So you kind of have to pull yourself out of it first, and then deal with the downsides of that later. I'm sure in the future, at some point in the future, we're going to have to pay, there's going to have to be higher taxes, or we're going to have to decrease our services, which is probably, I think, slightly more likely to happen, but we'll see how people vote. It's not like there's not downsides. But some of the things that people are proposing here in downturns are just ridiculous, man. They're going to take that one. Whoop.
Winston's mom says, on the walls of the cave, only the shadows are the truth. Plato, the allegory of the cave.
The thing is I don't like to get, well, I do. I like to argue, no question, but we've kind of been avoiding it lately. But this is an issue at this particular point in time that I'm more than willing to stick my neck out on. And the reason is because I've been listening to people like that guy for the past decade. I remember in 2008, oh, you can't bail everybody out. It's super bad. We made money on the bailouts. Oh, quantitative easing is going to destroy the economy. Guess what? We did it, and then we unwound the quantitative easing, and it was like no big deal. It was like no big deal. Like, this group of people that believe this thing, which honestly is based on a misunderstanding of economics. It's based on a shallow understanding of economics, let's say, have been wrong over and over and over and over again. You would think that at some point they would say, maybe we're wrong about something. But they keep coming and saying it,
Ryan says Fuzz didn't want to look like the IRAs.
Oh, there you go. That's why they used the name that they did.
That guy says a solution some countries with high levels of unsustainable debt have tried is printing money. In this scenario, the government borrows money by issuing bonds and then orders the central bank to buy. That guy says those bonds by creating, printing money, wrote Scott Wola and Caitlin Firking. History has taught us, however, that this type of policy leads to extremely high rates of inflation, hyperinflation.
Okay, but again,
That guy says and often ends in economic ruin.
I think you missed the critical point there. So I'll reiterate it again. We're not renting money just to create money and pay off our debt. Okay? We're printing money because we're having deflation. We have to print money in order to keep the currency stable. If you didn't print money right now, then what would happen is a toilet paper would be worth like 25 cents and none of you would be able to buy it. That's what would happen if they weren't printing right now. It's called deflation. You adjust the monetary supply. You adjust the monetary supply based on market forces of supply, demand, etc. Okay? So if there's not very heavy demand, then you have to print money to stabilize the currency so that you don't get deflation. Because if you start to have deflation, then nobody's making money and everything keeps getting cheaper, but they still can't buy it because nobody's making money. And it's just a downward spiral. Deflation is an awful, awful thing. Much worse than inflation, quite frankly. But the other side of it, inflation is really bad too, right? Because the price is going up and everybody has tons of money and they buy it and then the price goes higher and higher and higher. And it starts to become hard to make money because the inflation is just you're constantly chasing it. So the Federal Reserve increases interest rates, pulls money out of the monetary system so that the prices remain stable. We're doing this to maintain a stable currency. And what did you see this morning? What was that PPI number? Spot 2. Same spot 2 that it's been almost every month that I've ever been looking at this. Right? Means that they're doing it right. Means that they're meeting their objective. Means that they're doing all of these calculations that even I don't completely understand. People that have been studying this their entire lives are making the correct decision. Wow. Hey, it works. This system works. I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised that this system that we've had in place for almost 100 years now works perfectly. Can you imagine, guys? Shocking.
That guy says, adjusting monetary supply, haha, nice euphemism for let's all print money worth less than toilet paper and hand it out to the 1%.
Well, I mean, that guy, do you need money? That sounds like that's your real problem. Is you feel like that they're all getting some cash and that you're not getting it. But I mean, we can get you some. We can help you out there on that one. If that's what the issue is you want some more. You want some of that stimulus money.
Ryan says FAK, yeah, bitcoins.
Like they're handing it out like candy over there right now at JP Morgan apparently. You've got to qualify. Hey, in order to get it, you have to have a venture that can provide value back to the economy. So let's do some things so that you're creating some value in the economy. You're hiring people, you're giving people a living, and you're generating GDP. And then we can get you some of that stimulus money too. But if you're just going to take it and go and buy toilet paper with it, then I don't think that they're going to give it to you. How much higher do you think this can go? It's getting pretty crazy. I need to adjust this, by the way. Well, okay, we'll keep we'll keep it close. We'll keep it kind of within eye distance. Or inside bar still. I think they could probably push higher again.
Winston's mom says we are going to need a really terrific title for today. Speculator Seth debates that guy on Thursday's special toilet paper episode.
Ryan says, how would you feel about a community chart where everyone could draw on it?
Like in Discord? I mean, yeah. It sounds interesting. Would be interested to know what the how you would implement that.
That guy says lol you keep unsolicited giving advice to me, not sure why. You do this to every time to run away from the argument that this is a failed system that will eventually end up in a Venezuela.
But it's not. I already explained to you why it's not. Here's the thing, that guy. When I was saying earlier, like, how do you know which person is brainwashed? I gave you an argument. Okay, I'll give it to you again. You adjust the monetary supply based on market forces to keep the value of your currency stable, so that you're having a 2% year upon year inflation rate. And all of the numbers that we're seeing right now shows that the actions that the Federal Reserve is taking are completely in line with its mandate and are maintaining that 2% inflation rate. This idea that somehow their actions that they've been doing for hundreds of years now, almost 100 years, right? So been over 100 years since the Federal Reserve's been created, right? And not now all of the sudden it doesn't work, or whatever. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But you'd have to give a reason why it does. Right now, there's nothing to create inflation. There's nothing to create. That's the argument. So I give you an argument. What do you come back? Well, you didn't come back with an argument directly about why it would create inflation when you're having deflation right now, right? How is it that the printing that they're doing right now going to overcome the effects of deflation that we're having, right? That's a real argument. What you're kind of starting to show to me sounds like cognitive dissonance. Like, I'm like, well, you have deflation right now, so you're not going to get inflation. You're like, no. It's not an argument. That
guy says the value of our currency has been going down for exactly 100 years now.
Yeah.
ISNT that a coincidence not.
Yeah. We get 2% year over year inflation. That is the target. That's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen. If you don't do that, then people won't spend the money. So you have to have a little bit of inflation. Sounds like the system's working the way it's intended.
Winston's mom says I do also ace trades. However, I went with my grandparents, so I might not like Caracas for the same reason you do. And I was 16. Lol, I was astonished to find our escorts greeted us with machine guns.
I think it's time.
Ace Trades says that Winston's mom so grandpa was a gun runner.
So how did that end up going? Well, I took a bunch of bad trades before that, but that one did make me positive. They were all in the experimental account, so. Kind of wondering if they're going to turn down now. I'm a little concerned about it, but. Oh, hold on. I got to type something here.
That guy says nobody with basic knowledge believes in the 2% inflation figures, a joke. Systems working is exactly the sentiment they had in the late 1920s. You don't need me to tell you what happened next.
Sorry that guy, but I just don't think that you're qualified to be saying who with basic knowledge believes in that 2% inflation figure. The fact that you would say that just displays your ignorance. You said that you're not an investor, so I understand. It doesn't even sound like you even trade, but so let me explain how this works. There's a CPI number. Let's go look at it. Let's go look at it, shall we? So that we can show you how wrong you are. Oh, you know what, guys? Enjoy, hate being wrong more than you like being right. I'm not sure I'm there. Oh, I love being right. Okay. So we're going to look at the US dollar, and we're only going to look at measures of inflation. Okay, so here's the one that we saw today. So we'll go to that one. There's another one that happens. Where is it? Core PCE price index. There we go. Latest release. Okay. Producer price index. There it goes. So they give this report. Producer price index for final demand fell 0.2% in March, seasonally adjusted. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today final demand prices declined 0.6% in February and increased 0.5%. Okay, then you can kind of come down in here and they give you all this stuff. Here's all of the different sectors and what the inflation was. Some you can see that in some there was negative inflation and in some there was positive inflation. By demand type, here they're going through months again. Percent changes in selected immediate demand price indexes for services by commodity type, seasonally adjusted. We get this number every month. Here's all the tables, supplemental files. Here we go. So what do we got? Groupings, individual items, net output of industries, intermediate demand indexes, percent change table. Okay. Motor vehicles, that's a separate thing. So like for instance here, commodity indexes, percent change table. Okay, so then you can look at what they got. Okay, now here's the thing. Every month when this number comes out, everybody always has their estimate. You know why? Because all of these guys on Wall Street, they know how this is produced because they read the report every day and they use the information that they can go out there and find and try and guess what it's going to be, and they're usually pretty close. Right? Because they calculate the number. So not only do you got a government entity out here that's crunching all these numbers, displays them to us, but you have an army of people trying to predict what it's going to be. Okay. So if there was like significantly more inflation out there than what was actually happening, we would know. Okay. That's the way that the market works. They have every financial incentive in the world to try and figure that out, try and determine that. Okay, here's personal income. Full release in tables. Oh, is that one? But it doesn't like my browser on that one, I think. It's probably blocking a pop-up. Well, I think I made my point, right? To say that the number is fake is just so silly. So silly. Like, come on, dude. We all sit here and we watch this number come out every month and try and predict it and then trade off of it when it comes out. And you're telling me that the number is fake when everybody in there, well, not everybody, but everybody in the market is watching this number and predicting it and doing their own calculations and double checking it? Come on. Couldn't be more delusional.
Bots says the only reason 2% inflation is supposed to happen is to allow the government to disappear their long-term debt on a 50-year cycle.
I don't think that that's the only reason that it's supposed to happen. So there's this thing that like if your currency always appreciated, then what would be the reason to spend it? You wouldn't want to spend it because just by holding it, you would make more money, right? But if you know that by holding it, you're not going to make money, you're actually going to lose money, then you have this huge incentive to go out and do something with it, right? So in the case in markets, you'll go out and you'll buy bonds, for instance, right? If there wasn't slight inflation, then we wouldn't people wouldn't buy bonds, people wouldn't buy stocks, or at least not nearly as much as they do. Oh, is there a speaker at the top of the hour? Hold on. I'm kind of in like debate mode because I kind of came in, I was a little tired, and so I wasn't expecting to take serious trades today anyways. April 9th. Oh, the Fed chair is speaking about the economy at the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C. Okay. So it's just he's speaking at a conference. I don't know if it's a significant thing or not. If what he's supposed to speak about is significant or not.
That guy says just because you trade off of it doesn't mean it's real. You can play Monopoly. Does that mean you can use it buy goods? Good logic.
Well, but that's not what I said. I said that everybody is checking their work.
Gary Rich says I'm getting dumber as he continues to keeps explaining inflation.
Okay.
The CPI is rigged. Do your proper research.
If the CPI is rigged, then prove it. Where in the numbers that they're showing us is it wrong? What evidence do you have that it's wrong? How is it that it can be wrong, and everybody on Wall Street, it can be wrong for you? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we've looked at like those employment reports, and they've had to revise them later. Okay, like this is a better example. Okay, sometimes the employment comes out, and then we say, oh, they rigged the numbers, like they held back numbers or something like that and showed them in another report, or there was these revisions, and that shows that the government is rigging it. And well, that doesn't prove that they're rigging it per se, but it certainly makes a case that it could be. Okay, but they have to revise it because eventually Wall Street figures it out, because after a couple of months they're going to see that the numbers don't add up. Okay, and you're telling me that that's what's happening with CPI, then why isn't Wall Street finding it? You just can't pull the wool over their eyes like that, man. They're gonna keep going. Where did I take that one off at, by the way? It's always hard to hold. 27.89. Oh man, I could have done way better on that. Okay. Well, it's giving me the short again, and
Ryan says it could be because they all win, so.
Winston's mom says hi, Gary Rich, how are you and your border collie doing? Are you staying home more, and is BC happy about all of this attention? On YouTube, I have watched some confused pets wonder why everyone is home.
Oh, really?
Miguel
need to go
Rivera
look at
says,
that.
do you think we've hit market bottoms?
I don't know. I've been saying that I would find it really hard to see them make a meaningful recovery until the the quarantine or whatever is over. And I still believe that, but I would say that right now we haven't made a meaningful recovery. Right now we've just kind of come back into balance. So I don't know if they're going to move down again or not. That would be based on information that I just don't have right now. Well, that one right there kind of says to me that that was a really bad trade. I could probably take it again. Like they pressured it until the stop was hit, and there was apparently a lot of us, and then it went. That's funny. Maybe I should wait until there's a run like that before taking a long like that. I don't know.
That guy says revising numbers isn't the problem. The manipulation takes place in the form of doing things on the back end to mask short-term figures that create much bigger problems later on.
Are you saying that the headline figure is correct, but that there's things in the crosstabs that are wrong? That's a little vague. Like you'd have to give a specific example of something that's wrong.
That guy says, oh look, there's no inflation today, let's keep doing exactly what we're doing today. That's what happened in the 1920s.
No, what happened in the 1920s was a little bit different. So what happened in the 1920s was that everybody was borrowing a ton of money that they couldn't cover. And then they were trading with it. Okay, so they were taking out massive levels of debt, and they were doing extremely risky things with it. Whereas what we're doing with the money is probably one of the least risky things you can possibly do. Especially with the Federal Reserve when you're talking about like their overnight repos and stuff like that, right? Overnight repo, literally like the lowest risk thing you've got. The only reason why it was spiking up isn't because it's risky, nobody wants to do it, but because there was too much competition for the money. They needed the money for other things. And then the market freezes up.
Gary Rich says I need to revise my VIX cal. The second paper on VIX is square root of 365. 252 square root is first paper. I apologize for this mistake.
Okay. So we were doing a little bit of messing around with that yesterday, Gary, and I don't know, like which value you use. I mean, it changes the number obviously, but like just kind of eyeing it on the chart, it was kind of difficult to see that it was really mattered. You know what I mean? Like they were both good approximations, whether you were using today's value or yesterday's value and all that sort of stuff. But if you do yesterday's value, then there kind of turns into this thing of like, okay, so when do you reset it? Markets are over leveraged and the big bubbles in our sights. I think that pretty much all of the leverage has already come out. I mean, come on, look at the Dom, dude. They're putting 500s on the 10-year, and a week ago they were literally putting 100. Like who's this guy that's over leveraged that's still in? It just is man, I don't think he exists. I think that the money already came out.
That guy says if you're in support of some universal jobs program, that's fine. But there's no need to have 40 middlemen, banks, lenders, etc.
Sure there is. So they allocate it better than the government does. You're saying that we should replace this whole market and give it to one bureaucrat in DC and that he'll do it better. This is the most ridiculous idea ever. See, the issue that you have with what I'm saying is that the market doesn't do what you want. You want to have socialism, essentially. And the free market and the voting public doesn't let it happen. So you intrinsically don't like the system because the system doesn't result in the outcome that you want. Well, what you don't realize is that if you got the outcome that you want, it would be a disaster. Okay, well now they're turning down pretty hard.
That guy says go check on CNBC. A $9 trillion corporate debt bomb is bubbling in the U.S. economy. That is the exact result of the flavor of socialism that you endorse.
It's not socialism. Listen. Let's talk about what is socialism. Okay? Socialism.
That guy says socialism, in all forms, is bad. What is so hard to understand?
Yeah, I don't think you understand what socialism is. Okay? If the government comes in and gives people loans, that's not socialism. Okay? That's the government participating in the financial market the same way that any other participant can participate in the financial market. Okay? I can come in, and if I have money, I can go and I can lend it to somebody for any reason that I want. Any reason that I want. The government, they can do the same thing. They can say, oh, I really like Apple. I think that we should give them a loan because I feel like it. If they wanted to do that, they could do that. Of course, if the voters didn't like that, they could start voting the government out. But they are a participant in the market, and they can loan to whoever they want. That's not socialism. Socialism is when a government entity forcibly takes control of an industry for the benefit of the public. Okay? So, for instance, Bernie Sanders wants to abolish private insurance. All healthcare payouts have to go through the government. Insurance is not allowed. That's socialism because the government is taking over the industry by force. Okay? That's socialism. The government lends to people. That's not socialism. It's capitalism. Lending money that you own, that's capitalism. It's not socialism. No, it's not.
That guy says handing out loans, grants, handouts to struggling broke companies to keep them afloat is the textbook definition of socialism.
No, it's not. It's not. Let's go look. Let's go look, my friend. Socialism. A political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. I know. When did this trading room become a crying room? Well, because I'm not so confident in my ability to trade today, so I'm kind of going off for my own entertainment, I guess, John. So I think it's an important thing to talk about, and it is economics, right? What does this mean? The government owns the means of production. That's what it means. How is giving a loan to somebody the government owning the means of production? That company that you gave the loan to is still an independent entity. That company could choose not to take that loan. That company still has decisions that it makes outside of the government's control. It's not socialism. Sorry.
That guy says getting rid of middlemen that add no value, health insurance industry, to the end product, health, isn't socialism. That's just smart policy. Again, you'd have to have basic knowledge to comprehend.
You're wrong. Well, I mean, I've just proven that you're wrong. I mean, I don't know. I think we should just keep this guy around because I just love being right so much, and he's wrong about everything, and it's really easy to prove him wrong about things. Look, if the government takes over an industry, here's the thing. People today provide insurance as a business. Their business is insurance, and they participate in that market. If the government comes in and says, you can't do that business anymore, all of your companies are being shut down because it's illegal now, and the only one that can legally do that, the only one that can legally pay a healthcare provider for services is the government, that's socialism, because now the means of production and services, namely the healthcare industry, is completely owned by the government. That's socialism. Now you say that it's smart policy. Whether or not it's effective or not is not necessarily what's to be argued. or is not necessarily what I'm arguing. I would argue that it's not as efficient, but it is socialism, regardless of whether it's effective or not. It's socialism. Giving people loans is not socialism. What it is we have to come in and say, oh, corporate socialism, because socialism has a negative word connotation, and so you're trying to give that bailout or whatever it is the negative connotation. But by the definition of the word, it's not socialism. It's the exact opposite. It's the government participating in a private market to assist that private market to continue to be private.
Gary
Yeah.
Rich says Social Security, Medicare, welfare is a form of socialism.
Yeah, so now you're in the gray area, Rich, right? Because if we came in and we said that everybody can get Medicare if they choose, but you can still have your private insurance if you want to. So now the government is competing with the free market. That's a little bit different. Now, there are some pitfalls with that kind of approach. It can work and sometimes it doesn't work. One is that the government kind of then has an incentive to change the rules in their favor, which is not necessarily always a good thing. Sometimes they'll take control and then the government isn't very good at it, and then you have a real problem. Kind of like, that kind of was happening for a while with the post office. I think the UPS and those carriers are doing a good job and compete with the government just fine, and the government's actually failing in that one. But you're right, it's not socialism though. I mean, they're social programs, they're left policies, but they're not by the strictest definition of the word socialism. It's only at the point at which you prevent other people from participating in the free market that it becomes socialism. And that's where it becomes bad.
That guy says not to mention, private insurers don't abide by free market principles and they don't compete with each other. That isn't what happens in a free market, which is essentially socialism by another name.
Well, okay, that's true. And if you want to fix that, then go and go and get rid of the Democrats, because they're the ones that keep insisting on these rules that create that situation. I don't know how many times Republicans have tried to say, allow insurers to trade across state lines, force providers to publish prices and give everybody the same price. Like, it could be a free market, but there's certain party doesn't want it. They seem to think that if they keep it a semi free market, but like a really ineffective one, that eventually people will acquiesce and give into socialism. And I'm not so sure that it's ever going to happen, but that seems to be what they're trying to do. Certainly, could the Medicare, or sorry, healthcare market could be a lot better with a couple of little changes they've been talking about my whole life, and Democrats don't want to do it. I'm looking here. I think, well, yes, I can, actually. So let's focus on this one. I'm going to leave you guys off for a second. Okay. Oh, that's a lot of pressure. Hmm.
That guy says you are
Here we go
parroting
again.
nonsense, zero facts, all Kool-Aid designed for the brainless mass.
Not an argument. That's not an argument. That's a I can't prove you wrong on the facts, so I'm just going to insult you because that's the only thing that I can do to protect my ego. This is a sign that you're suffering from cognitive dissonance. Pay attention. So that one didn't work. They pushed down lower again. I'm wondering. Oh, we're going to come up on the open. Are we now? Maybe. Okay. Wow, it's a little volatile here. Okay. Does it go down again? Not quite that time. There we go. There we go. I'm a little nervous about this one for some reason. I guess I'm breathing deep because I was like, talking so much and so animated about it that relax a little bit, huh? Could actually go for more than that, but I'm going to take it early if they give it to me. In fact, I could just take that maybe. No? They seem to be fighting it hard here. So I'm going to take the easy profit if they'll give it to me. Come on. Don't be shy now that I put the order out there. Oh, someone's really fighting it. There we go. But see that the stop running, I only got the 10. Oh, I should have held it. Okay. Whatever. That was a serious one. That was a serious one. Maybe let it come back up and try again.
That guy says anybody will get cognitive dissonance when they learn that Socialist Canada reported physician errors, lab
Yeah.
errors, medication errors and duplicate tests north of the border, and Canadians report more.
Can you have private insurance in Canada? Canadians can purchase supplemental private coverage for services that are not covered by the public plan but cannot purchase private insurance for basic services, as CNBC points out. So they're in the gray area. They're not completely socialist.
That guy says if you prefer shitty healthcare which increasingly costs more and more every year, that's fine. But when you shoot down better alternatives as socialist, it's hard to take you seriously.
Well, okay, we're having progress. Did you catch what just happened there, folks? He just admitted that he's wrong and that would be socialism. There you go.
Daniel K. says I'm Canadian. Our waiting lines are miles long and our doctors all live and work in USA.
A little mad. I'm a little mad that I didn't just hold that because I let myself, I let it get the best of me. I got too nervous. I should have held it. Someone was fighting me hard. Oh my. Well, I think I kind of want to wait to see that one fail first before I jump in on that one. They're definitely going for so it's like right there. Hmm. Okay. Not the way that you want to get filled. Whoa.
That guy says Daniel K. I will give you the benefit of the doubt, but I still have a lot of stock in Independente reports that show that wait times for emergencies are the same for both Canada and the USA.
Well, probably for emergencies. I think it's specialist care that's really the issue in Canada, right? Are we going to turn blue again? Was that the end of it? Five. I think 4 points is reasonable. Oh, come on. Don't give me that. I know you got it in you. Come on, girl. Almost. Go, 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 go. Almost. Oh, come on, guys. You got this. You got this, Bulls. Go. Do it, do it, do it. Ah, yes. That makes me a little bit happier.
Daniel K. says yeah, the issue is cancer. I know from family experience. Waiting 6 months for a biopsy with cancer is rough. Gary Rich says I'm still bearish oil. The OPEC meeting is going to do nothing. All sides are jawboning the markets.
Hey, so Gary, question for you on that. So let me go back to it. Where is it? Discord is having a little bit of issue. Okay, so here was this tweet here that we were talking about earlier. Russia wants all producers to cut from a Q1 average, not an April baseline, which for Saudi Arabia was 12 million barrels per day. So are they saying that because of what they're requiring, that it would be a much more significant hit for Saudi Arabia, and therefore they are not as likely to go for the deal? Where did I get out on that one? Did I get out at a bad spot? 2781. No, it was okay. I mean, there was some volume there, so it was okay. Certainly could have held that one too. I mean, these are going way farther than I'm expecting. Look at that buy is really strong and aggressive. I don't know about this.
Weltonseg LA says at Speculator Seth Sir, I come from EQU trading. What kind of strategies do
Okay.
you use in futures to trade? Same technical or fundamental setups? I guess if I trade an ETF, it's probably similar to the futures.
Yeah. So good question. So the thing is with futures is that each individual market is going to be different from each other. But the thing that makes futures different is that it really is truly a what is the word? Um, uh, what is the term that we use for this? When you make money, somebody else is losing money. Okay, that's not necessarily the case in the stock market. I mean, when you make money, somebody's paying you for the stock, but it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody lost money, because it could just be that your new buyer is just paying up. But in the futures market, that profit only comes about as the result of somebody else taking the opposite position and losing from you. Okay. So the number of shorts and the number of longs are equal. The zero. There you go, Jan. Thank you. The zero sum market. So that's the thing that makes the futures market unique compared to equities. So trading strategies is really true pure trading. We're really basing what we're doing off of other people, and the whole game of trying to stop somebody else out and game their strategy is more of a thing. Okay. So when you look at the strategies that you're going to see people do in the futures, that it's going to be based very much on that. I'm looking for a place, you can see kind of when we go back here, I'm looking for a place where I can see a line in the sand. So I got long here, and then I saw the line in the sand, and when they crossed it and I started seeing some absorption, I got out because that was the run that I wanted. I could have gotten way more. I think I really should have held it, but I'm just super nervous today, I guess, on the serious trades. So I think I got more than what I wanted today, and that's great. And I can just quit for the day. But okay, so those are the kinds of strategies that you're going to see in futures. Whereas when you look in equities is going to kind of be more about like, how can I identify which stock or sector is the most positive today and go in and get in at like a good risk reward point, or notice it earlier than everybody else so that I can get into it first, right? And so those are the kinds of the differences. Now, one of the ways that plays out, and is kind of the thing that I like to do, is watch the order flow. Is because of the way that futures work, the futures traders insist that they can see everybody's orders. So you get the DOM where I can see all of the bids and offers and all of the market orders that come through, and you can't necessarily see that in equities, right? That's why I will see a lot of strategies from people, and I'll say, well, okay, yeah, but a lot of their edge is how they pick which instrument they're doing. You know, that's a critical component. Whereas in futures, you pick one instrument that behaves the way that you want, and you stick with that one. Yeah. So that's kind of the difference that I would take it. So if you trade futures and then you go over and you go into equities, there's an edge in that because you're going to understand more than the average trader over in equities about trading, about gaming other people's positions. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Or I hope that was a good. I felt like that was a good answer. I'm happy with that.
Weltonseg LA says that was pretty good. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm glad that helps.
Weltonseg LA says do keep runners then when you play more than one lot? Ace Trade says people often go from equities to futures. The reverse almost never happens.
That might be true, Ace. I don't know. I don't know if you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, so usually when I'm doing more than one lot, it's an experiment for me. So, but what I'm trying to do is if I see that I'm in a trade already and I'm seeing confirmation signals that tell me that I have a really good chance of it continuing to run, then really what I'm doing is I'm looking at it as a second trade. So just as an example, if I got short, let's say that I had been short at 27.89 and then it came down to 27.87 and I said, well, that's really great. I could take it short again. So 2 points is what I would like to get. Okay. So if I go short here again, all right, if I lose, if this comes back to my break even point on this one, sorry, let me rephrase. I would prefer to only lose 4 points. Okay. So if I've made 10 and I take another one here, then the stop on this second trade is the break even point of the whole trade. So if this second trade loses, then it's all break even. And so that's why I can justify legging in multiple times. I didn't explain that very well, but it's still a work in progress. But that's kind of the way that I like to play it. Is I make sure that I have enough profit baked into this first contract that if this second contract's entry isn't good, that I just end up scratching. And if it works, then I end up getting another run, and these are the trades that tend to be the ones that are like really running, and so then you can catch, like a 10-point move on 2 contracts and make $200. That makes sense. I think that was a little better.
Ace Trade says I hedged with almost.
Okay.
That guy says I went from spot forex to futures, don't see myself going back.
There you go.
Gary Rich says at ACE, did you buy the Hummer with the spa in it yet? Ace Trade says at Gary Rich, I decided I needed a warehouse of masks, gloves and TP. Gary Rich says at ACE, sorry I mixed up my priorities lol.
Oh my gosh. So when we did the mask, when the CDC came out and said, oh yeah, actually you should be wearing masks, I told my wife like, okay, well you got to make masks for us all and, turn it into a business or something like that. I was just kind of joking. And then she joined a bunch of Facebook groups and people started putting in orders. So she's got like several dozen of these masks that she's sewing downstairs. I was like, whoa, that like blew up way fast. She did way better than I thought, oh yeah, we'll go in and we'll buy some material, we'll have it to make masks, and then we'll have a hard time getting anybody to pay us to make it. No, like they're just coming in. Not that she's gonna make like tons of money, but she's definitely gonna cover all of the investment for the materials and stuff like that. Yeah.
Gary Rich says Seth good for her awesome.
Oh yeah. But I mean, the thing that you got to understand about my wife is that she is overly motivated, man. Like, she doesn't know when to relax. So I'm worried. I'm a little bit worried, like, that she's going to go too deep into it and that she's going to spend all her time sewing. And you know what I mean? Like, if she was a guy and she was working like a desk job, she would be that guy that stays at work late and works and doesn't spend enough time with her family. That's how I picture her. Like, when she gets into something, she just becomes way too motivated. And I always will tell her, like, okay, like, here you have your time set aside for it and you do your thing and then you're done. And the rest of the time is to prepare for doing that other thing. And part of what you need to do to prepare to do that other thing is to relax and reset yourself. And she refuses to do it. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, I'm really proud of her. I'm really proud of her so far.
Jan Rodenberg says the masked speculator.
There you go.
Welton Seg LA says I see. I always find it difficult to trade SPY as opposed to regular stocks, so I'm not confident to try mini or micro SP futures yet. But I started to study it now just for fun. Gary Rich says Seth get the 2 kids AMD the baby sewing. Start your own mask making sweatshop.
Well, maybe I should make my mom come over. We've been, you know what? They haven't been visiting over because we're all supposed to be quarantined, but my brother has been coming over and using my gym. So I figure that at this point we're cross-contaminated. She could come over. That's what she should do. What did I miss? Oh yeah, sorry. I wanted to address what Will was saying about the S&P. So here's the thing you got to understand. Old sport is the S&P 500 in particular is like really volatile because it's an index, So you can see right here down in the bottom right corner of my screen, I have the tick. And this is how many stocks in the Dow or rather in the S&P 500 are ticking up versus ticking down. So you can see right now, most of them are ticking up, but it's decreasing, right? And so that kind of makes the value of the S&P 500 fluctuate a lot. And because it fluctuates a lot, it's really hard to hold a stop. It's really hard to sit down and say, okay, here's this price level that's relatively close to where we are right now, and I'm really certain that they're not going to trade that price. Like, if that's how you're trying to pick them, you're going to be wrong a lot because they go for it. Like they know where everybody has gotten in from, and they push it further than all of the retail market makers can hold it, and then they'll go. And so you'll see these stop runs in the E-mini all the time. Basically, the E-mini becomes all about stops. Okay. Now, this is where it's different from other instruments. For instance, if I do the treasuries is just the price of the treasury. Now, there's a lot of things that factor into the treasury, but those are things that aren't changing all the time, right? The things that we're looking at are like inflation, measures of inflation. And there's correlations with currencies and things like that. But, these are all pretty constant. It's not like 1,000 little things that are, creating noise all over the place. And on top of that, the 10-year treasury is really, really thick. Like over here, the biggest order you have is 125. And over here, we got 1,000. And 1,000 is actually low. Usually we have at least 3,000 on there. Okay. So over in the treasury, I can sit down and I can say, well, I really don't think that they're going to trade this 31. I'm thinking that they're going to go up and they're really not going to trade this 31. So I could take a long here at 0.0 half and put my stop at 31 and say, well, if If they trade through 31, then obviously I'm wrong and I don't want to be in it anymore. So tactically is different. So it depends on what kind of strategy you want to use, and I'm kind of the mind of you want to be able to diversify as much as possible. So I'm kind of doing both, but that's kind of where it goes. So if you find the S&P 500 difficult, what you might want to do is you might want to go and trade treasuries first. And don't get me wrong, treasuries are really hard too, and they come with their own issues. But you can trade treasuries, and once you feel like you kind of got a hang of that, then you can turn over and go back into the equities, and you might understand it a little bit better. And then you can look at the stop run game a little bit and figure that one out, and get some strategies that take advantage of that. Mm-mm.
Winston's mom says, does she know about Etsy? That's a great site for selling handcrafted items.
They've done stuff with Etsy before, but I'm gonna bet that there's like a trillion people on Etsy selling masks right now, so I don't know if that would be helpful.
Weltonseg LA says at ACE trades hehe, my broker allows futures. I could start right away, but I stick to simulator for a year first probably.
Oh yeah, stick to sim at first.
Ace Trade says at Weltonseg LA, I think you are wasting 11.5 months. Lol. Weltonseg LA says at ACE trades better than my account. Ace Trade says at Weltonseg LA if you want to chat about it. Ace Trade says acetrades5@gmail.com. Weltonseg LA says at ACE trades I'd love to. Or if you have good sources like videos to make it easier coming from stocks. Gary Rich says play with yourself fist, master that and then start trading.
I think you meant to say. Did you just tell him, Gary, that you have to get good at fisting yourself first before you can start? You can see all of these new traders now waking up in the morning, keeping it classy. Oh my gosh.
Ace Trade says keeping it classy at Gary Rich. RJ Wheel says fist not first. How Freudian. Weltonseg LA says okay I start with the fist, then simulator. Ace Trade says there is a Woody indicator.
Oh my gosh, guys.
Weltonseg LA says grinning face.
Yeah, no, so here's the thing on that I was going to say. We have micro futures now, which is really great. And the sooner that you can get into actually like really trading, the better. And it depends on how much capital you have. But if you have like, 500 to a few $1,000s, and you can put it into micro futures and you can work it and you can learn with that. And that's great. But just realize that at the beginning, you're probably going to suck at it. Like, you're going to take a ton of really bad trades in the beginning, and you might have a lot of places where you come out negative every day, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like most people that I know, it takes several years before they even become like have any degree of consistency in their trading. So, that's why I think it's a good idea to start on sim for a while first, because the amount of money that you can blow in a year while you're trying to figure it out is a lot. And I'm not saying that you can't figure it out, but most people don't. So just keep that one in mind, Take it under advisement.
Ace Trade says still not a fan of micros.
No? I think it works really well. I mean, you do pay a lot in commissions, sure, and I'm sure that they make a ton of money off of it, but I think overall it's a really good thing for the market, and I really enjoy trading them because I don't think I could handle the risk that would be involved in a regular E-mini contract. I would need to have just a much bigger Like, I'd have to have like $10,000 in there or something to really feel comfortable with that. Yeah, I'm naturally nervous, I think.
Welton Seg LA says I assume it's the same as with stocks and you need to start the psychological aspect soon as well.
Yeah.
Welton Seg LA says meaning live account but small.
Yes, but there's plenty of ways that you can make that non-live account um matter, if you will. So like one of the things is that you should set performance metrics for yourself, and if you're not meeting those performance metrics, then you're not allowed to take the next step, you know? Like, I have to make a certain amount before I'm allowed to trade multiple contracts. And it will start. I mean, here's the thing. Let me put it this way. Money is a really big incentive, right? But uh, ego is a really big incentive too. How many of us have lost significant amounts of money because we were trying to protect our ego? Like you just didn't want to be wrong, and you hold on to it, and you could have, you had plenty of opportunities to just scratch, and then you end up taking this huge loss. It happens all the time. So you can kind of use that to your advantage. You know, it's you care about the sim account because it's still you and your performance, and it can still make you nervous. And I can still take sim traits that make me very, very nervous. But I usually will switch between them. I have a live and a sim accounts, multiple sim accounts, and I'll switch between them based on how I'm feeling. So if I'm not trading well that day, take 2 or 3 trades and they don't work out, then I get out and I'm done. Let's see here. Oh, it looks like my text-to-speech reader is down now. We ran out of requests. But it's somewhat smoother, less distractions, no need to worry about quarterly reports, CEO profiles, and news. Yeah. I really do want to. When we get that stimulus money, as tempting as it is to just blow it all trading futures, I'm going to put it into some stocks. I'm going to put it into a regular, not even an IRA. I don't think it's just going to be a regular account, so that I can start building it up and do some options plays with them and hedge and stuff like that. Trading is like meeting a woman, shy, scary, worried, but in time it works. Just remember that's not it, honey. Daniel K says keep your journal. Yep. Sounds like a journal sim ego. All the same, really liking stock trading for obvious reasons. So round 2 then. Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's all the same kind of skills. It's just kind of like a little bit different of a game. That's why the big thing that I focus on, just like I was saying, is futures is pure trading. I always look at a lot of the guys that are like on Wall Street bets and things like that, and like what they're doing is completely different, And what we do here, this is like the big boy game. Like this is the hardest thing. The best traders are trading futures, you know? And like Ace was saying, probably not a lot of them go back to other things. I do think that there are some, because there are some real opportunities and options and stuff like that. And there's real opportunities in trading large sums of money and hedging yourself. And so then you're going to have to go beyond just the futures asset class if you really become a big fish, right? But yeah, you want to stay in futures because that's the best opportunity for trading, and that's what you're good at.
Welton Seg LA says meaning live account but small.
Oh, I thought I was reading your latest thing, but I forgot that this isn't working anymore. Futures do still have institutional participation and also algos involved, right? Yes, absolutely, and in fact more so, because when you look at stocks, a really big percentage of that is retail traders, and if not retail traders, then people that are managing, 401k funds, right? Whereas the vast, vast, vast majority of the volume that occurs in futures is coming from hedge funds. really hedge funds are like in the 10-year, other countries potentially. Like you're trading against really big guys. So that's another thing in futures is the idea of like finding out what the whales are doing and just following them, particularly in the non-index fund instruments. So like if you're doing oil or gold, treasury futures, like that kind of idea is really strong. If you have ways of actually telling what they're going to do, kind of one of the problems is that they make it very hard to tell. Totally agree with Seth. Starting in treasuries is your best chances of succeeding in futures. It took me 3 years full time trying every other futures market and only became consistent trading the 10-year. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, when it was like hedge funds, or sorry, not hedge funds, like prop trading desks back in the day, they don't really exist anymore, but back in the day, they would always start you on the 10-year because the 10-year is the easiest to understand. It's also the hardest. It's the hardest and most efficient. But it doesn't toy around with you. It's efficient. It does what it's supposed to do very efficiently, whereas the E-mini will kind of go around and screw around and make you think that you're doing okay, and then dash your hopes and all that. Whereas the 10-year, like the turns aren't very often, and they go at a slow and steady pace, and they give you plenty of time to see it. So you understand exactly what it's doing and it's supposed to happen, and when you kind of get in line with it, it just tends to do its thing every time, and you can be really consistent with it. But there's a lot of caveats in that, like different times of the year, there's different cycles and stuff like that. So it's always changing, but yeah, it's a lot easier to be consistent in the 10-year, even if that's consistently losing money. It's efficient. It's really, really hard to find an edge in the 10-year. Yeah. Thank you so much for the chat and this introduction. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, probably when we came in, we were arguing about socialism, but I was having a little bit too much fun in there. You guys enjoyed it, right? We didn't even get to the big piece of discussion. Can I share one more thing with you, kind of along the socialism line that's kind of pertinent to what's going on right now? You guys saw that Bernie Sanders dropped out yesterday, right? Man, on my Facebook feed, so many people that were like, "Oh, why did he pull out?" I'm like, "What? Like, this has been over for like a month now, guys. Like, he lost in Wisconsin and that was it. And it wasn't looking very good for him before that either. Like it's been like a month and a half since it's been a foregone conclusion that that Joe Biden is going to win the nomination, and I have all of these Bernie Sanders fans on my feed, all shocked and surprised that he pulled out. Like, what? They're just not really a very high information voters or something. Like, I don't know. It was kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Just like John Grady said, the 10-year moves with sanity, for the lack of a better word. Yeah, it does. Well, let me just show you with these charts here. So this one over here in the lower right corner is the 10-year. So you can see the way the 10-year goes down, move, small pullback, move, small pullback, move, small pullback. Okay, reversal, move, it's a reversal again, move. But it's not like, all over the place. Now come over here and look at the 10-year in that same time period. Okay? Like, so we're actually showing like, okay, yeah, actually we're showing about equal amounts, right? It's move, like really big pullback, up again, try up. Okay, we got a trend, big jump, back. It's just like, it's all over the place, and it's a really random, to be honest, too. That's because the things that are affecting the 10-year are pretty consistent. Like, you can come in and you can say, okay, so today we had PPI, and PPI was greater than expected at spot 2. But spot 2 is what we normally get for that number. That means that the Federal Reserve is doing a good job at keeping the prices stable. So they don't necessarily have reason to ease more. Okay, that's net down for treasuries. They don't have to lower interest rates anymore, so that's net down. And that thing is the dominant force throughout the whole day. And so the only question that you have to ask yourself as a trader is, how far will that actually take it? Right? So you can know, hey, today I should go short. And then it's just up to you to watch the flow and kind of figure out what the right spot to get short is. So, yep. That's what's nice about the 10-year. No, what you can share with us, Seth, is the sun. Go get the baby, or we will hold our breath, and no one will eat till. He's been a little cranky. But I'll go and get him for you because it's haven't done it this week. Well, and you can size up too. Yeah, Ian, that's a good point. Like honestly, if you wanted to trade I think that even if you're trading like a 20 lot over in the equities, that you would start to get algorithms catching on to you. Whereas in the 10-year, like it's nothing. The 10-year you can trade up to thousands, and they don't. It's not serious. Not that it's funny because even one lot that can affect the markets, but you're not really a noticeable fish until you're at 1,000 in the 10-year. So you can trade much bigger size over here, and you don't have to get very far to make it because the per tick value in the treasuries is a lot too, right? Because this one, well, these are micros. So for micros, I let it go 8 ticks and it's $10, whereas over here 1 tick is 15. So doesn't require a lot of movement in the 10-year, which is kind of nice because you could come in and you could just scalp out a tick and make money. All right, let's go check what they're doing. I bet you he's gonna be unhappy. I don't want to wake him up. What's the best way to do this? This side? No, this side. Hey, baby. There we go. He's kind of giving me this look like of resentment. He always has this resentment look. World's shortest hunger strike. How are you doing? Huh? You look a little like you're not looking at the screen or anything. Are you tired? Huh? Oh. Hold you like this. He has a good head of hair. Yeah, he does. I mean, it's growing too. He's like getting the Saiyan haircut going, There was a pretty good turn there in the E-mini. The E-mini is still really volatile. He has your forehead? Thanks, Gary. Hey, Gary, how much do you think they're going to cut? Oh, you lost the pinky. You got to tell me later. Maybe message me on Discord, but I got to get a better idea of, how much they're going to cut and what is actually realistic for the oil stuff. I know that's your thing. The 10-year Dom of yours is killing me? Why? Wait, what? Is that good or bad? Do you not like the way I have it set up? We'll be able to play the videos and see how cute he wins. Yeah. You're doing it a little better. It's because you're all swaddled up. And how come your foot is out? Opened you up so you can kick. I don't know if you're up for just standing around. Hey, thanks, reaction guy. Yeah. Should have held it short. Wait, oh wait, so you got it at 138.07. Oh, really? Oh, dang, boy, you got a good. So how much did you took it at 138.50? Dang, you like really should have. Yeah. But you must have been taking that around the news, so to have gotten like one good sweep, and maybe that was the right thing to do. I don't know. Depends on what you like to play. But oh, no, he's definitely a boy. I gotta tell you, having an infant, some of these things about like what don't um don't assume they're. I'm sitting here and I'm like, is so clearly a boy and acts so clear. Ooh, you just spit up on me. Like I would like to see a baby that doesn't do this, and maybe it's not clear on, because it just like seems so bizarre to me. You having a little bit of issues here with the milk spit up. You want to hold you, and we'll do it this way. There you go. This the sound he makes when after he sneezes is the cutest thing in the world, man. You're getting more stuff on me. No, you're good. That sneeze was as cute as the panda video. Let's bet when the baby throws up on his shirt. Yes, please. I was pretty cute. I don't know how you judge how cute your own baby is, but like I feel like he's up there. I feel like he's up there. You're getting pretty good at holding your neck up there, buddy. Oh, can you see it now? You want to see? Look, let me show you. Look right there. Look at that one. Look at that one moving. Yeah, they're moving. Pretty colors. There are ugly babies out there, I call them as I see them. I want a puppy too. I still want one of those Pomskis, man. You see, having a Pomsky and like maybe we'll wait until he's like 2 or 3. Get a Pomsky. Cute overload. Oh my gosh. It's hard to figure out where to sit so the microphone doesn't cover his head. Just find you a millennial. But millennials don't like having kids. Huh. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? You don't know? Well, why are you sticking your tongue out at me? You want more food? Huh? Yeah. Here, wait. You want a pinky? There you go. Yeah, there you go. Right here. Yeah, look right there. Right there. Oh, the baby's name is Asher. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Oh, there, that was the burp. Good boy. It's like I think he's cute, but I'm not a neutral judge. I need to like put him up on a website and see how cute he is. Like, you know, hot or not for babies or something. Get her overnighted. Oh, get that underway. It's in your face. Hey, you don't like that? Can you see yourself? Do you see you? Yeah. He wants to wiggle around, but he's still swaddled. Okay, so Weldon, you're asking about Tradovate, and I haven't tried them, but it is one popular option. I would say that like in terms of like cheap, your best options are Tradovate and Amp. There's kind of this thing going on where like the platform that people want to use, you can't necessarily use, and like NinjaTrader brokerage. I really like NinjaTrader, but they're not selling multi-broker licenses anymore. You have to get you have to be grandfathered in. So then to use NinjaTrader, you have to use NinjaTrader brokerage, which sucks. So that's why a lot of people are really anticipating the charts coming out in Jigsaw, because they're hoping that then they can just use Jigsaw wherever they want and not have to worry about the whole NinjaTrader thing, right? And it's the same thing with Tradovate. Tradovate has their own charts and you use their charts. Now there's another broker out there called EdgeClear, which are basically the Stage 5 guys broke off because they were unhappy with the way that Stage 5 was going and they wanted to go back to their original vision. So, and they have very competitive rates. So if you're looking for a broker That's one place that I would really look at. And then on the other side, if you're not scalping, I would take a good look at Optimus Futures because they have a lot of options in terms of the platforms and stuff, but they also have really good support and really good like trader education and things like that. So especially if you feel like you're kind of a boomer or something like that, Optimus is a place where you'll be taken care of. So those are kind of some recommendations I would make for young brokers. I don't think that there's like one platform or one broker that is just like absolutely the best all the time. It is always like what you want to do. So those are kind of like the advantages and disadvantages of them. I am with Interactive Brokers, so I could just get a platform. Yeah, Interactive Brokers isn't bad. So like if you're doing futures with Thinkorswim, like they suck for futures, Thinkorswim. But Interactive Brokers isn't too bad, and I think you can connect a lot of these platforms to Interactive Brokers. So that one's pretty good. In fact, like if I wanted to trade futures and options and stocks, all in the same account, I probably would be going with Interactive Brokers. But who is the cheapest scalping wise? It's definitely AMP and EdgeClear right now. And anybody else, you probably can get competitive, but you would have to show them how many round turns you're making. Yeah. I know. You see him? Hello. Hi. Hi. Yeah, you smile for them? Yeah. Okay, you want to go see mom and eat some food now? Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to shut it down. I will see you guys tomorrow. Friday should be interesting. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.